I'm just going to share a bit about the way that I came up with the name for my company, and some of those my experience with that might be useful for you. And I'm also going to just flag up what I think are the three most important things that a name needs to do. So the first of those, I think, a really effective business name needs to be relevant and engaging for your target market or your ideal client. It needs to be a name that will capture their imagination, get their attention, make them think, this is a company that I should be interested in, that I should be listening to, that has something to offer me. So you need to be thinking about who do you want to be talking to, who do you want to be responding to your business. The second point is that the name needs to somehow communicate the essence of what it is that you're offering. So that could be very explicit and through a name that sort of does what it says on the tin. I think the fact that my name has got marketing in it makes it very clear that I'm obviously a marketing business. But you don't necessarily need to be that explicit and spell it out with the precise words of what it is that you do. It might be more evocative and implicit and just expressing the essence of who you are and what you're about, and sharing a feeling or a suggestion rather than literally spelling it out word for word. So there's obviously a spectrum there, and you need to navigate that according to these other questions that you need to pose yourself. So the third thing that I think a really effective name is going to be memorable, and something that people will not forget, so they can come back to you and they will have that recognition of your brand. So those 3 points, just to recap: it needs to be relevant and engaging for your target market or your ideal client. It needs to communicate the essence of your core offer, and it needs to be memorable. So just talking a little bit about the name of my business and how that has evolved. When I started the business, which was about 18 months ago, back in the summer of 2014, I was originally trading under a different name, and I came up with that very quickly. I didn't spend a huge amount of time thinking about it. I didn't go through the process that I now recommend and help people through, and that I've since applied to myself to come up with this new name. But I went through some of the process. So the thing that I did consider was what my core principles would be, what my brand values were going to be, and what were the things that were most important to me in the way that I worked, and what I wanted to be known for, the qualities that I wanted to come through in all of my work. And the top two of those were clarity and connection, because my business is all about bringing more clarity to people's marketing strategies and more connection in terms of helping people to connect with more customers more effectively. So I chose a name that did what it said on the tin to a certain extent. Clear and Connected was about bringing clarity and connection. But after a few months, about 6 months, I worked with that name, and I went to a lot of networking events and spoke to a lot of people during that time. I felt that when I told them who I was and the name of my business and what I did, I didn't feel confident that I was really coming across clearly in terms of the service that I offered. I didn't necessarily feel that people understood quickly and easily that I was offering a marketing service about strategy and planning for marketing small businesses. And I felt that perhaps there was some confusion that maybe I was a business coach or a more general business consultant. And I also felt that it was not a particularly memorable name. It wasn't particularly distinctive, and just didn't feel very me. It didn't sort of embody who I am. I didn't bring a sense of joyfulness and fun, and that's another one of my core values. It just felt a bit serious and corporate and professional, which, I mean, I am professional, but I'm not very corporate or hugely serious. So, for various reasons, I was thinking about changing it, and during that period, I was evolving the Get Fruitful Marketing program, and I then took myself through my own program and came up with this name. And this name really reflects much more about who I am. It's got a sense of playfulness and joy, I hope, comes through. And also the fact that I'm based in Kent was a factor. The fact that I'm in the garden of England and I'm surrounded by lots of lovely orchards and apple trees. And I grew up in Kent. I'm very connected to Kent businesses, and that's who I'm here to serve. And I wanted the name to reflect that, as well as the fact that in lots of these networking events that I was attending, a lot of the conversations that I was having with people, the thing that kept coming up when I asked people what was their biggest challenge or what problems did they have relating to marketing their business, I kept hearing that people were investing in marketing and they weren't getting results. So they felt that it was time wasted or money down the drain. Maybe they weren't measuring their marketing activity, they weren't monitoring it effectively, so they weren't able to really see the return on the investment and have evidence to show that it was effective. And I felt that really this was the thing that I could address and that I could help with my business. So I also wanted the name to reflect that. So when I go back to that first point that I made, that a good business name needs to be relevant and engaging to your target market, I think that you might not necessarily know what that is until you've had those conversations with people and really asked them and got to understand what their issues are, what their needs are, what results they're looking for, and what are their big problems at the moment and how can you help. And you need to find a way to position your business and the name that you choose to reflect that and that value that you bring and how you can help people, basically. And then it's just a question of how explicit you are about that and expressing that and communicating that. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say, apart from one other thing, which is another factor that you really need to consider is where you want to go with your business. So what is your purpose and your vision for the business? Where do you see it in 5-10 years' time? And if you really want to grow the business and make it bigger, involve more people, get more people to buy into it, maybe taking on staff or outsourcing work, maybe growing it through other ways, you need the name to be one that will work for the long term and will take you on that journey. So if you're using your own name to trade under, whether that's as a sole trader or a limited company, you need to just think very carefully about that, because if your long-term plan is to sell the business or to step back from the business, so it's not all about you doing everything, then that could possibly present an issue. Similarly, if you're using your initials or some variation on your name. The other issue with initials and variations on names, I think, is that they're sometimes not very memorable. If it's just a collection of letters, that's quite tricky for people to remember. And I think there's also a lack of emotional engagement because there isn't, much personality or benefit being expressed through those initials. It's not really kind of getting to the core of the offer from that particular business. And I think therefore that you should really think carefully about using initials. I don't think they're a particularly great way to go, personally. So I hope that's been useful. I'm going to stop there, and if you want any more information or help, let me know, get in touch. Thanks, bye.